Blog Talk Radio.
All right, all praises to our Elohim, all praises to the Most High, all praises to the Most High, all praises to our Holy Mother, heavenly and earthly, all praises to Yahweh Shai, all praises to our Elohim, and great peace and joy to our nation, as our redemption is now. Hold that thought. I gotta get something. Nabbit. Oh. All right, all praises. Forgive me for my tardiness, for not having this sorted out. All praises again. I tell you what, our Father, He is doing a wonderful, miraculous work upon the necks of the heathen and all their cohorts. So real quickly, let's just start with something that I noticed, or something I saw that I had thought and found very interesting, which was a couple things, but we're going to start with the Yellowstone eruption. You know, they dismissed this, but this was a hydrothermal explosion at the Biscuit Basin. And they go, oh, you know, it wasn't much. It just resulted from water suddenly transitioning to steam in the shallow hydrothermal system beneath the black rock. All that is just the cap on the top of that super volcano blowing off. These people are simple-minded. They don't take, they're like a prize fighter getting beat down and still getting back up until that uppercut comes. And that's soon. But these people just won't, they don't take the signs, you know, they don't want to recognize, they just don't want to acknowledge nor take accountability for anything. You know, this Diddy thing real quick, just to jump on that. Even within their debaucherous state, they're still racist, because they're gonna try to railroad Diddy and his freaky ass and all those silly Negroes that were running around with him down the river. They're gonna try to get them all, but quietly they ain't said nothing about Epstein and all the white folks that was all over at Epstein's island doing his freakiness, doing their freaky deakiness. So, you know, that's just something to mull around and think about, just so we can keep it real on what's going on still in this world. Even though we're not connected to it, we still can see the foolishness and error in this filthy matrix of the heathen. And before we get into what we're going to talk about tonight, because get in here. It's about to, like, just like Yellowstone, the cap being blown off, everything's about to get blown off, okay? Blown up, blown off, just like it's trying to blow up people with transistor radios, you know, pagers. Now, who in the filth flarn is wearing a pager? You, I don't want to sound crass, But you're a fool if you rolling around with a pager. Like, what you gonna do with a pager? What you doing with a pager? Oh, look, I got these free pagers. Come get these free pagers. Hey, I'll take a free. What you doing with a pager in the first place? Anyway, that was the first thing I thought about. I was like, who is using a pager? Like, what? Hey, yo, page me in 2024. Like, come on, man. Just pick the phone up and call me. What are you using a pager for? So, certain consequences come with silly actions and silly thought process and free. So I wanted to, that was just my little giggle real quick, because I was first day, I was like, who got a pager on their hip right now? It's crazy. It's out of control. But I digress. So I want to make this connection first with the Smithsonian, okay? Because the Smithsonian is something that has created and stunted and gatekeeped and made all that what we have today in terms of anthropology, archaeology, and history Eurocentric. Okay? Now, the question is, who owns the Smithsonian? Okay? The Smithsonian Institute is owned by the United States government, but it is a public-private partnership. The Smithsonian was established in 1846 by Congress as a trust to carry out the will of James Smithsonian, a British scientist who left the estate to the United States. Now, in 1846. So in 1846, the United States was involved in, guess what? Guess what? What was the United States involved in 1846? The same year that they created the Smithsonian. I know, I got you waiting. The Mexican-American War. I mean, you can't make these things up no more. Like, we are finding these puzzle pieces, and they're fitting properly into the biggest puzzle that is no longer a puzzle that there ever was. Okay? So in 1846, the United States was involved in the Mexican-American War, which began when the U.S. declared war on Mexico on May 13th, 1846. The war was fought over the Republic of Texas. Oh, guess that, imagine that, which had declared independence from Mexico a decade earlier. So that would mean in 1836, right? So in the 1830s, what was going on? The Spanish was relinquishing their tentacles of the Inquisition. The Americans were creating land pacts, $5 Indians, the Trail of Tears, the Indian councils. All of this was going on between 1830 and 1850. Okay, all of this. You can say between 1830 and 1850 is when they were reclassifying people. Us. We're going to get into that because I'm going somewhere with this. Shoot, these people, I mean, they don't know who they messing with. They think that they have it all under control. All their lives are hidden through what? We all talk about the Vatican. That's just some of the religious, the truth be told, they sent their missionary priest scouts over into the so-called New World to them, New Lands to them, to find out things and report back. Then they would send their military, right? So as they did this thing between 1492 to 1865, okay, and they were the Spanish that was mostly doing this, okay, at this time. we have to remember that all of this is a setup for 83 to keep the archaeology. Okay? So, yes, the Vatican has all of the religious artifacts, religious books, and I'm using religious because that's in their mind, okay? All of our spirituality, the Vatican, anything that pertains to our spirituality, our power, aka magic, whether it be archaeology of magic, whether it be King Arthur's stone, or, anything that the Vatican would believe they could utilize in any ritual for them to gain power is over at the Vatican. Anything that was deemed archaeological giants, artifacts and mounds, pictures of our people, drawings, blueprints of how they created mounds, or the mound builders in the Mississippi Valley, the Cherokee mounds, the Ohio mounds, anything that was pertinent to a craft or building, masonry, is in the Smithsonian. Anything that could be considered bones, anything that would make connections to various peoples, such as us, Hebraic information, all is in the Smithsonian. All of it. Okay? So you've got these two situations, these two gatekeepers going on in the world today. Now, granted, that was, they gatekeeped our information away from us, but they also did that to their people. So their people are dumber than doornails, because they don't even believe in any of this stuff, nor believe that there is even a people, a Hebrew people. So they're at a loss and ass out already. We at least get the remembrance to come back to us, so that we can gain favor in the days of the exchange of situation. Okay, so the Smithsonian. Now, I'm going somewhere with this because I found this to be very, very interesting. So, of course, the U.S. the Smithsonian was established in 1846. James Smithsonian, a British scientist who left his estate to the United States. The bequest, the Smithsonian's will directed that his estate be used to establish an institution in Washington, D.C. to increase and diffuse knowledge among men. Acceptance. Congress accepted the bequest in 1836. Trust. Congress created the Smithsonian Institution as a trust to be administered by a board of regents. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because I never knew this. The board of regents is made up of the Chief Justice, the Vice President, 3 members of the Senate, 3 members of the House, and 9 citizen members. I found the Chief Justice to be interesting, because when I reflect on Thomas Jefferson, he said, justice cannot sleep forever. Well, this Chief Justice is overseeing the truth, which ultimately is contradictory to his very being as the head or sitting on the board of the Smithsonian, because he is being unjust. But they have the Chief Justice, and then guess who? The Vice President. So for a long time, it was white men, right? All the way up until today, when there's this Hindu woman. You think that if she was black, as she says, right, she would have gone in there and changed all this and brought this information out, but yet she didn't. She didn't care about this information of the Smithsonian. She didn't go in there and say, you know what, my people need to be set free so that they can go and worship their Elohim. Let me go into the Smithsonian and open up the records. Nope. She didn't do that. Yet another case against her for her lies of trying to assimilate on the slick to be us, just to gain a power that there's no more of. So I just found that interesting. I found that really, really, really interesting. I'm not going to belabor those points, but it just is what it is, right? I mean, these are the things that we're having to come up with, because now that we've switched gears from a fake, take that back, a pseudo transatlantic slave trade, we're going to switch gears to a true trans-Pacific slave trade, okay? And to be honest, this is we're behind the scenes, Brother Sly and I and Brother Leon. We are behind the scenes trying to put these pieces together so that we can come to the nation with the goods, the smoking gun, the red herring. Why? Because they're not going to do it for us. The world, 83, is not interested in any truth. Like it is the truth they are not interested in. Anything of Allah, they're willing to party it up, entertain, hear, see, smoke, drink, eat, whatever. Okay? But this truth that we're talking, they're not interested in. So we got to do the due diligence. And that's why we're now switch gears. We've already, as a group, as a remnant within the remnant, we've been dealing with ourselves. We've been going against the Edomites. The Edomites are just like, they're low-hanging fruit. They're scattered amongst the ground. They're of no consequence. Those people have no clue. They are idol worshipers at the very root of their tree of knowledge of good and evil. So they are of no consequence at this point. They've been exposed, found out to be nothing but Pauline worshipers. Okay, so we have now switched gears to, you guessed it, these people who are Native American, who say they are Native American, but we call them pretendians, okay? And why is that? Because for some strange reason, when we were going against the Edomites, bringing out truth to them against their reprobate-minded selves, these pretendians came back door, was talking to us like we were nothing. And vice versa, or not really vice versa. The Africans, at the same time, the pretendians, the Africans were coming against us. We were going against the Edomites, toe for toe, winning. We were winning, and we won against them. They got knocked out. As soon as we were coming in for the finish to finish off the Edomites, here comes these Africans and these pretendians coming in against us. At the same time, those two were coming against us. We had our own people coming against us. And what were we doing? What were they coming against? Us saying that we are the indigenous of America. They don't care about anything. If we said that we're black, fine. If we're African, fine. If we're Hebrew, fine, right? But the moment that we say we are indigenous to the Americas, they all came out like roaches trying to scurry away, to come at us, to attack us, like ants to a piece of chicken or some gum or candy. And I was like, what is this? So we, the brethren, behind the scenes, we started really getting into the studying. And I think I said this last week. Brother Sly saw this book in the hand in this video, this obscure book in the hand that he had to blow up to find out what the name of it was. He did so. He sent it to me. We looked at it. We found the book, but we couldn't really find the book through the archives. So we got an article, and that's what I read last week. But this week, I found at the same time all that's happening, this sister on YouTube had did a book report on the very book that we found or came into having, that we found that I did that I read last week, the article, the little excerpt from it last week. This is how the Spirit is working now. It's an overdrive. If we ask, we shall seek. Now we have turned our attentions to our true lands, the Mexican, the Mayan, not even Mexican, the Mayan, the Aztec lands, the Mississippi lands, the Texas, the Colorado lands, and the whole thing, the whole world is in dysfunction right now, worse than they've ever been, ever. So I'm going to play about 15 minutes of that, and then I'm going to put the rest. I'm going to put it in the community section, but I want to play the first 15 minutes so that you guys can hear what has transpired on our lands against us. But first, we're going to get into this Micah 2 real quick. I'm going to do this. I'm trying to do this in order fashion. This is what is going on right now. Okay. Make sure everything's working. Yes, sir. All right, Micah 2. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Shai, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. In that day shall one take up a parable against you, and lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He hath changed the position of my people. How hath he removed it from me? Turning away, he hath divided our fields. Therefore, divided our fields, divided our nation. Therefore, thou shalt have none that shall cast a cord by lot in the congregation of the Most High. Prophesy ye not. Say they to them that prophesy, they shall not prophesy to them, that they shall not take shame. O thou that art named the house of Jacob, is the spirit of Yahushua straitened? Are these his doings? Do not my words do good to him that walketh uprightly? Even of late my people is risen up as an enemy. Ye pull off the robe with the garment from them that pass by securely, as men averse from war. The women of my people have ye cast out from their pleasant houses, from their children have ye taken away my glory forever. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with the sword destruction. If a man walking in the spirit and falsehood do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto thee of wine and of strong drink, he shall even be the prophet of his people. I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Bozrah, as the flock in the midst of their fold. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. The breaker is come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate and are gone out by it. And the king shall pass before them, and Yahweh Shai on the head of them. All praises. This is the beginning. This is what they did. Like, okay, we were foolish. We were dealing in idolatry, not doing what we supposed to do, although we were given the laws and the commandments. And we were given the commandments to not break the laws, and we did, and we went into subjugation. But again, they did too much. Our Father is not pleased with their actions. He's going to judge them, because woe is destruction. But he's going to I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together as the sheep of Bozrah, as the flock in the midst of their fold. They shall make great noise by reason of the multitude of men. Just us going on, excuse me, just by us saying we are of Israel, we are Hebrew, we are the northern and southern tribe. Just for us saying that, there's a noise. Just for us going into online, into these AIs, into Googles and into Bings and putting in information, we are making a noise. We have brought together the juxtaposition of the Eurocentric world view and the melanated world view, which, mind you, was never, ever done before. The last time these two worldviews met, one befell the other. And here we are today. This time, once like the first time, one will befall the other. The juxtaposition. Now, why am I saying that? Because I want you guys to understand. I mean, we're getting into it now. Juxtaposition. The fact of two things being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect. The juxtaposition of the Eurocentric worldview versus the melanated worldview. Okay? Now, see if I can get this going. All right. Let's see if I put it over here. Let's see if I put it over there. Okay. Right. Time it. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to stop it a couple times.
Peace and love, everybody. It's your host, Nikita X, and this is the third episode of the show, Black Movement Radio. And the title today, we will be discussing how Asian slaves became Indians. I'm going to go into depth about how Chinos became reclassified as Indians or indigenous people. Moreover, while indigenous people were reclassified as African and Negroes, Chino slaves were allowed to obtain an indigenous identity and status. The main source of information used for this discussion will be from the book Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico, From Chinos to Indians by Tatiana Sayas. What's interesting here...
Wait, so Chinos, and I said this last week, I said, well, where have I heard that before? Chinos is Spanish for Chinese. So you got all those Chinos out there. Hey, Chino. They're telling on themselves. These people, we were so asleep that they had the audacity and the gumption to put it in our face. No. Just think about that.
Is that the subject of Asian slaves in Spanish America is not discussed or widely known. In fact, in Tatiana Sayas' book, she states that her book is the first that traces Chino origins in Asia. My goal in this...
So I'm going to tell you the name of the book again, Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico, From Chinos to Indios. Okay, again, Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico, From Chinos to Indios. Get the book before it goes to $1 million.
This particular episode is to touch on key points which is not readily known to the public. All right. After parts of Asia were conquered by the Spanish crown, Asian people were put into slavery on their own land and later on shipped to places such as Mexico, Peru, and Chile. In other words, they were shipped to Spanish-controlled colonies in America. Now, this is a quote from the book.
Now, that's all the Americas. That's the same. So that's Inca, Aztec, and Mayan. You got to stay with this now, because where they put these people are exactly where our megaliths are, where our pyramids are, where our rich valleys, rich valleys, rich archaeology and anthropology is. This is where they brought these Chinos. Okay.
Asian slaves in colonial Mexico. Quote, the foundation of the Spanish Philippines gave rise to the trans-Pacific slave trade. Manila became the colonial outpost in Asia where slaves were purchased, and the Manila galleon ships afforded transport to Mexico. Manila was a slave society during the 17th century. Slaves did the majority of the labor, and master-slave relations shaped the general social order. Within years after the Spanish conquest, the bustling port city had some 40,000 residents of diverse origins. A full quarter of this population was enslaved. They were craftspeople, manual laborers, and servants who upheld their master's social structure.
Okay, I got to stop. So galleons. So the Pacific, unlike the Atlantic, is very calm. It's very serene. It has more saline in it, more salt in it. The current is smooth. There's a natural current. If you go from Manila to Acapulco, going north, the natural current will take you directly to Acapulco. If you go from Acapulco to Manila south, the natural current will take you to Manila. So nothing is by coincidence. Nothing. Okay? They had, and I got to hold up for a second. I'm not going to go into everything, because next week I'm going to go into a little bit more with brethren, the Most High willing, okay? But you have to understand that these people, nothing is coincidence. They had to find a spot to colonize their the world that they knew, that they found, that they were given, okay, the lands that they were given closer than Spain, and not going to or through the Atlantic. That's the key here, okay? They didn't go back and forth to Spain like, our other brethren would have us want to believe, from Africa to here. Negroes, Hebrews to Negroes, straight from Spain. And no one straight directly. Atlantic Ocean is one of the most treacherous oceans in the world, outside of the Northern Sea and the pass between the southern tip of South America and Antarctica, where the head of the Leviathan, if you listen to Brother Levi, the head of the Leviathan is. Those three areas are the most treacherous waters that there ever is today. Like the boats don't even go that way. They're like, nah, we ain't gonna go that way. We're gonna bypass all that. And our boats are metal. So miss me with the madness of these crackerjack popsicle stick boats that they created with Elmer's glue to try to get across the damn Atlantic. Stupid logic, foolish, ignorant logic. That is an unreasonable logic, and people who are sticking to that are going to find that they are wrong. So the Spaniards, that is where they set up shop to do all their dirt around the world. Okay.
Of the 1620s, the city had 8,000 and 2,400 slaves, in addition to an untold number of Muslim slaves. The whole of the city was a slave market, supplying labor
She's
to
talking about
Spanish
Manila.
colonists and indigenous elites. Slave auctions were held in the plazas found within the city walls, and masters also sold slaves through individual transactions. The unorganized nature of the market makes it nearly impossible to quantify the volume of slaves, but it is clear that Manila was an emporium for slaves. Masters
Again, Manila, Philippines. Manila, Philippines.
from throughout the Philippines knew to come to the capital to secure chattel property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these slaves were from diverse places, and they were called Chino slaves. And they came from places such as Filipinos, India, Philippines, India, Bengal, Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Japan, China, and other places.
Korea.
Now, once in Mexico, all of these people became Chino slaves. Now, here's
Chinese.
the backstory of what took place in the Philippines. And what took place in the Philippines also mirrors what took place in America when both empires, the Philippines and America, fell to the Spanish crown.
Philippines and Mexicans, okay? Because you have to understand that this is directly after the takedown of the Mayan civilization, of our civilization when we were Mayans, okay? So the Spanish came in, and let me backtrack to give the route, because a lot of people don't understand how ocean currents move and how things how these people had to travel on these rickety popsicle stick boats. So they left Spain, just like the Portuguese. Okay, so they left the Portugal and Spain area. They went south to Western Africa. Okay, when they reached Ghana, that's when they refueled, if you will. They re-upped. They found some of the Judeans there. Moors there. Why? Because that Ghana was Mali, the empire of Mali. That's where Mansa Musa ruled. And the Mali empire was massive. Timbuktu was there. The University of Guinea, University of Guinea in Goa. Okay, these were the hot spots of intellect in the three parts, period. Okay? It wasn't nowhere in Europe, Greece. No, everyone went to this place. So they had already known about this. They went there, found information, and they were told, yes, it was not their time. They were given the information and said, go southwest. Whatever you do, go southwest. They went southwest, which if you can look at a map, it went southwest towards South America, heading south towards Antarctica, went around the coast, up around the southern part of South America, the southern part of Central America, the southern part of North America, ending up into the Gulf of Mexico, which then led them into the Pacific, straight to Manila. This is how it worked. This is how they got to it. This is how the Spanish got to what they did. The English and the French, they went north. They went from Ireland, what is Ireland, to Greenland, down. Okay? But nobody, and I'm going to say it again, and I double dog dare some fool to step up and tell me they went directly through. Because if they do, they need to give me proof. There is no proof that no European took a ship, a wooden ship, directly through the Atlantic. There is no proof in that. That is a feat. That would be one of the greatest wonders of the European mind, and they would be telling you they didn't do that. Okay, especially not with a cargo of humans that they valued as currency. That's foolish.
The page from the book Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico, and it's from page 46. Okay. It says, quote, the Spanish government instituted the same forms of labor organization in the Philippines as in the American colonies, first allowing colonists to have encomiendas and then pushing for reform with the Reclassifying system. Under encomiendas, a Spaniard was allotted a group of Indians who owed him personal service. Repartimiento was a crown control.
I hate to do that, but wait a minute. Encomienda system is a Spanish labor system in the Americas that forced indigenous people, us, to work for Spanish settlers and soldiers in exchange for protection and education. Okay.
Old system that required Indians to work for nominal pay. Okay, so I use that quote just to show how what happened in the Philippines and the Americas, they operated under the same types of system, which was pretty much a caste system, where the lighter skin would kind of become the Chino slaves or the Indians, and then at the bottom you would have the reclassified indigenous people being reclassified as Negroes working at the bottom in the sugar plantations and in the fields and the rice plantations. Okay, so that's why I use that quote to show that both the Philippines and Spanish America, now Spanish America, were under the Spanish crown. And the type of system that operated was the same in the Philippines, and it was the same in Spanish America, right? Now, at this point in history, the indigenous people were being subdued, and people belonging to the lighter skinned races helped the colonists subdue the real indigenous people of the land. A clear example of this taking place is in the Philippines. Quote, in the Philippines, both systems allowed for slavery because the native elites were responsible for delivering the laborers to the Spaniards. The lawful enslavement of the indigenous group Negritos exemplifies the leeway given to native chiefs regarding slavery. The colonial government gave permission to the indigenous elites of the larger ethnic group to carry out their own slaving raids. The Pangans, for example, who lived in a fertile province of Pampanga, had license to enslave Negritos. The Kapamapagans, you understand what I'm saying, excuse me for the mispronunciation, the Kapamangans were allowed to go to war against their natural enemies. And
now, the point that she's making by butchering all the names of the indigenous people is that our people created light to dark, okay? But the Spanish came in, being pale faces, they came in and they elevated the light over the dark, okay? And they did that esoterically and exoterically. So everywhere that they colonized, they created this system which held down all the dark indigenous for the light indigenous, which that goes to these so-called natives, okay? And she's going to get to that. These so-called natives, these looking light, white to brown, not light to dark, not red to dark, but pink to brown people over the red to dark.
Slave them and make them work in the rice cultivation, end quote. So later on, Negritos were reclassified as Negroes and lost their indigenous status and became Negro slaves. Now, there are other words that they say that the Negritos, they say there really are Aeta, like Aeta, okay? Because Negrito means little Negroes. And I'm not sure what they were called at that particular time when their nation was being subdued by the lighter-skinned natives. But they were indeed...
They were called Israelites. They were called Hebrews. That's what they were called. So the Spanish came in, they found us, they found the 10 tribes. They're like, oh, okay, we got to reclassify these Negroes. Okay, Negro, black. Negro, black. Negrito, little blacks. Okay? Then, everything else is lost in translation. They didn't even have to do anything. All they needed to do was change it from Israel or Hebrew or Aztec to Inca to Mayan, right, to Negro. Every word that we use today to denote a race is pretty much based on the Spanish. Pretty much based on the Spanish. Especially in the degradation of words that are classified as people. Okay? The Spanish are some devious, reprobate. They're going to have a lot to pay for. We look at these other Edomites. We don't deal with the Spanish. The Spanish are the ones who laid the groundwork. They were the ones who went through first and did all the damage. The weak English, the weak French, the weak Germans, the weak Dutch, they came in well after. And people were already hemmed up. They just came in and beat them down more. But it wasn't a fight.
Classified as Negritos, and they were forced to work on the rice plantation. And as you can see, what happened with the Capamantangans, they worked with the Spanish crown to subdue the true indigenous peoples of the Philippines. Okay. Meanwhile, in America, indigenous people were also being reclassified as Negroes and forced to work on plantations. Now, I'm going to use an example from the article titled The Use of Terms Negro and Black to Include Persons of Native American Ancestry in Anglo-North America by Jack D. Forbes. Quote, Negro was also used in a general way in the North American colonies. Some examples illustrate the use of Negro and Black as applied to people of American ancestry. An example is from the West Indies, is especially illuminating. In 1764, William Young was sent to St. Vincent as a part of the British occupation of that island. Living on St. Vincent were about 3,000 Black Caribs or free Negroes, about 100 Red Caribs or Indians, and some 4,000 French and their slaves, according to Young. The British found it difficult to control the Caribs, and wars were fought with them in 1771 through 1772, and again during 1795 through 1796. During the latter crisis, Young wrote an extremely anti-Carib tract designed to prove that the Caribs should be removed from St. Vincent. They were eventually defeated, and some 5,000 Caribs were shipped to an island near the coast of Honduras. Young was anxious to prove that the so-called Black Caribs were not Aborigines, but were in fact Negro colonists, freed Negroes, or Negro usurpers. This was important to him because he wanted to show they had no bona fide land rights or Aboriginal title. This tendency continues, incidentally, amongst white scholars who even today refuse to accept the Caribs' avowed feelings of Indianness and continue.
She's saying Caribbean. So, I just want
to call them Black. Now, this is what happened and what they still do today. Okay, so at that time, the indigenous people were fighting and were being reclassified as Negro and Black, and there were some lighter skinned native peoples who were helping them. Okay,
just like today.
I'm going to read a section from the book Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico. And this is about another way that was completely a reclassification, or what we would call a genocide on indigenous people through reclassification. Okay, so this is from the page 110 in Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico. All right, so quote, "The devastating demographic collapse of the indigenous population in the 16th century transformed the labor system in Mexico. The drop in population was almost inconceivable. Approximately 15 million Native people lost their lives between the 1530s and 1608 in central Mexico."
Now, I found this to be interesting because this is just what she's about to say is exactly how they keep us at 14% of the population.
So you mean to tell me in less than 100 years, 15 million Native people died, they lost their lives or were killed, all right? And this is not to make light of the situation or to poke fun at it, but what I'm saying is that all of these people that they reclassified as Negroes, as African slaves, a lot of those people were indigenous people. But
so remember how they said, oh, the white man came over to the Americas and eradicated all of the Native Americans, the Indians, and they had smallpox and they went away and they're no more, this yada yada, right? Well, what they did do was not that. What they did do was just classify them, change the name. So now there are no more Native Americans except for the ones that they say are. And the other ones are considered Black. Oh, you ain't got no history. Oh, you ain't got no language. You ain't got no heritage. You ain't got no culture. Well, it's funny that coincides exactly with the Hebrews, but yet, hey, I digress.
It makes it look like there was a complete slaughter or genocide of indigenous people. When you just reclassify them, then you can say they're all dead.
Right.
But no, they're not dead. They've just been reclassified. They were reclassified by the pen. Okay?
That's right.
And we see that this actually happened with the Karankawas, and it happened with the Yamasee people as well. All right? Now let me get back to the next
Chippewa,
part.
the Choctaw, the Cherokee.
Now that dark-skinned Aboriginals lost the war against the Spanish Crown and now Spanish America, they were then reclassified as Negroes and Africans. The lighter-skinned Native people who helped subdue the Aboriginal people were allowed to maintain...
Wait, I got to go back. Hold on a second. And she said most of the indigenous population were reclassified as Negro or what? African. They knew about Africa. They knew. This is why when you ask an African today from one of these African nations, hey, when you were growing up, if you're 50 or 40 or 60, when you were growing up and in school, what did they teach you about the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade? And where did what nation did these people come from? Well, I'll tell you, because I'm asking these questions to these Africans, okay? And the one person said to me, well, they, it was from all over Africa. They took people, okay? And they said in school they didn't really talk about it. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you're trying to tell me they said the European man said that they brought 12.5 million of us over here, which automatically means 25 million at least they brought over here. And that type of undertaking, that logistical undertaking, nobody in Africa worried about, nobody in Africa knew about. What did they do? They just said, oh, okay, yeah, we got these people, whatever, you can take these people. No, what they did was they said, oh, you can take those people over there in Negro land off the slave coast. But everybody else you can't touch. You can take the people in Negro land if you can. Okay? And once our people in Negro land, the Judeans, realized what was afoot, they kept rolling. They moved on. They vacated. Some of them got hemmed up and caught. But it wasn't 25 million of them by no stretch of the imagination. The Ashanti, the Zulu, the Igbo, the Ibu, the Fulani. These people are still over there. But for some reason, these Africans want to act like, and I get it. They got to hide what they did because they're complicit as well. They're complicit in giving up the southern kingdom. All right? So this isn't even rocket science anymore. Psalm 83, the nations, the Confederacy is the entire world. And once you start realizing that there were two simultaneous situations of human trafficking, chattel slavery going on, and each situation was with the same people, going after the same people, meaning the Spanish on the east side, the Spanish on the west side, going after everyone that's dark to put them into perpetual slavery. Their dumb diverses that they utilize to go all over the earth with, and with the face of white Caucasian Jesus, talking about we have the right to go against the Saracens, which are to capture and go against the Saracens, which are the Muslims, which they did not. The pagan, the heathen, and the heretic, and those that did not believe in their white Jesus. Who are they? Who are all of those people that they went after? It would be the people that don't believe what they believe. Which was who? The Israelites. Period. Everywhere these people went, they looked for the Israelites. Why? To conquer, to take over, and to put into what? Perpetual slavery. This was their MO. This was their reason, their being, their lifelong journey. This is what they were all about during the 1400s, the 1500s, the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1800s, the 1900s. This is what these people were set forth to be, to do. I will bring a foolish people and put over you for bringing me to jealousy. This is a foolish people. Still to this day.
back to the next part. All right. Now that dark-skinned Aboriginals lost the war against the Spanish Crown and now Spanish America, they were then reclassified as Negroes and Africans. The lighter-skinned Native people who helped subdue the Aboriginal people were allowed to maintain their indigenous status, but they were still considered subjects or slaves of the Spanish Crown and forced to endure a lighter form of slavery, which was not nearby as harsh as what the Aboriginal people had to experience.
Indigenous.
So this is talking about how the Chino slaves became Indians, all right? The Chino slaves who were brought from the Philippines were people who were used to working underneath the Spaniards, and the Spanish believed that they were easier to control than Negroes who were there. Once in Mexico, they worked in the textile fields, and though they were laborers, they were not forced to work out in the fields like the dark-skinned Aboriginals, and they soon became identified as Indians. Right? Now I want to read to you a section if I can find it. If I can't, then
all right. I'm gonna let you guys listen to the rest on your own because I'm gonna put it in the community section. But just to bring it back together, did you hear what she just said? All of these light-skinned Asian people were, after they had reclassified the dark-skinned indigenous people of the continent, of the lands that they went and conquered, after they reclassified them, they brought in these Asian people and classified them, drum roll please, as Indian. And so today, when these fools want to run around and open their mouth talking about we ain't this, we ain't that, they ain't even who they think they are. You know, the other piece is, the Indian boarding schools. And Brother Sly and I did some due diligence on this as well. And Brother Leon is the one who gave me this question. And I did some due diligence. So the boarding schools, so when they were taking these people, these people, they were taking their families, right? These light-skinned Asians. They were taking them and their children. They were taking them and they were saying, okay, you guys can be free and not be like them dark-skins, those darkies over there in perpetual slavery. But the only way that you're going to not be, because this is the Spanish, remember, they are degenerate people. So the only way that you cannot, the only way that you won't go into chattel slavery is you got to give up your child. So they took all the children, they put them in these boarding schools all the way up from Canada, all the way down to Mexico. All right? They then had to come up with a narrative because they had reclassified everybody. This was their whole mindset, to reclassify. This is where the church comes in. We can reclassify. We can do this. We can rebuild. We can do this. So what did they do? They said, well, what we'll say is because they're already Asian, we've got to figure out a language that we can have them that we can teach these kids as their own native language, even though it's not their native language, right? Because it's, again, Japan, Philippines, Vietnam, China, all of Asia don't speak the same tongue. The Philippines, in fact, Filipino Creole, which is a Spanish because of their conquered. So they don't even speak Asian. They have no Asian language, okay, in the Philippines. It's only a Creole Spanish, much like it is in the Gulf Coast, with a Creole French, a Creole Spanish, same thing, okay? And especially in the Gulf states where you're close to the Mississippi Valley going up. This is where our people were. In the biggest mound builders, our people, the biggest Mason mound builders, our people were. Okay? The Negroes, as they say. But I digress. So they brought these kids to these boarding schools, and guess what they taught them? They taught them the language of the Siberian people, the Siberian Asians. They gave them that dialect. So when they get older, they can say, yeah, this is our native language, and we connect with Siberia through the what? Land bridge. This is how they did this. This is the devilment of these degenerate ass people who then want to act like they so godly. They so godly. I mean, can you see it? Can you not see how they did it? Okay, you got a choice. You can be like you can go in the fields with these darkies, these negritos, and be chattel slaves in perpetual slavery based on our dumb diverses, our decree from who? The white Jesus, white Pope? Or you can give up your children and you can be free, but you're going to give up your children. They all cried. They're all upset. They gave up the children. Because damn if they were going to be in the fields with us, with the true indigenous people of the land. They didn't want that. So they gave up the children. The children were shipped off to boarding schools, raped, beat, sexually abused, just destroyed, and taught this degenerate whack language that isn't even theirs. So when they get older, they can say, yeah, we speak in this dialect. And we're going, what is that? Oh, this is our Asian dialect from Siberia, where we are from a million, kabillion years ago. We came over on the land bridge. It's our theory, and they were sticking with it. What? Okay, that's how you think you did it? Yeah, that's how we did it. Well, okay, now the smoking gun. The father said, oh, no, look over there, son. Oh, wait, over there? You mean over in the West? Over in Manila, in the Philippines? Yeah, look over there, son. Oh, my goodness. You mean to tell me, because these people damn sure look Asian. Every single one of them look Asian. Not one of them look anything but Asian. I don't care who they are, Native American, Mexican, Honduran, Guatemalan, Peruvian, all of them. And I'm going, damn it, how? The Peruvian ones look like they from Tibet. That's what I'm saying. And it's so crazy to me to be able to get this piece of the puzzle to understand how they actually did their confederacy. And they're going to run around and act like, oh, white Jesus can save you. Oh, white Jesus did this. White Jesus did that. Oh, you need to be saved by the blood of white Jesus. No, I don't want none of white Jesus' blood. I don't want none of white Jesus. White Jesus can go to hell where he came from. Because white Jesus did all of this. All of that. What we just talked about. That is so diabolical. I mean, just think of it. And you got to hear the rest of it. Again, I'm going to put it in the community section. But it's time for us as a nation to start really doing our full due diligence on this. Don't even worry about those foolish Africans and their pseudo-African slave trade and these crackerjacks that want to run around here and act like they are better than. We know them. We know what they're doing in the Smithsonian. They hiding our stuff. We know what they're doing in the back. They hiding our stuff. Who's this about? Us. Why? Because every time that we step up, they fall down. Every time. Every time they try to come against the Father's loins, they get punched down. I mean, Brother Judah is over here. I mean, it is time. You know, it's so frustrating to find this information out and have to be patient for the justice that you want. It's so frustrating. But who the hell am I to rush anything? because I know when it's all said and done, everything will be in order and the way that it's supposed to be, the way that it was supposed to be, the way that it's supposed to have been, and the way that it will be. That much I know. It was too easy for the Atlantic slave trade madness. It was just too easy. It was just too easy. Yeah, okay, we can say we all got them from here. Too easy. We killed them with smallpox. Too easy. This was a confederacy. A confederacy is always a complicated plan. We just got them and took them straight through the Atlantic. I know it's a treacherous journey, but we can do it. No, sir. No, sir. History is telling on them. His story is just telling on them. And they don't like it. Side note, I went online and I looked my name up because I heard this other brother, I was online, this other brother was saying, yeah, I looked at my name and so I said, let me look up my name. So I looked up my name, Moriel, and guess what? Nothing shows up. Not me. It's all a bunch of ish people who, mind you, these same ish people, when I came on with my name that was given to me by way of the Spirit, by way of the Father, I accepted it, took it. They came on years later, got mad in my comment section saying, calling me names. I'm a thief. I'm a liar. I'm this, I'm that. And I'm going, you haven't done anything on your little Moriel TV platform since 2014. Well, lo and behold, in February of this year, they do a couple videos. And that was it. And they still haven't done nothing. So I rebuked them. I rebuked these Spanish. I rebuked these Europeans and their worldview. I rebuked these Africans. I rebuked these wannabe African Americans. I rebuked these blacks. I rebuke every one of Psalms 83, Confederacy. Every one of them. I rebuke them in the name of Yahweh Shai. Under the order of the Holy Spirit, by the will of the Father. I rebuke them. And let their consequences be on their children's heads. Because of the diabolicalness of their wicked, transhuman, degenerate, reprobate minds. May justice come to them slowly. May justice come to them swiftly, but may justice come to them sooner than later. All praises. All praises on that. All right. Chinos. Right in our face, Chinese. Isaiah 10, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. And what will ye do in the day of visitation? And in the desolation which shall come from far? To whom will ye flee for help? And where will ye leave your glory? Without me they shall bow down under the prisoners, and they shall fall under the slain. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. O Assyrian, O Edomite, O Hindu, O Babylonian, O Persian, O Medo-Persia, O African, O Native American, O Spanish, The rod of mine anger and the staff in their hand is my indignation. I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge, to take the spoil and to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. Howbeit he meaneth not so, neither doth his heart think so. But it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. For he saith, are not my princes altogether kings? Is not Calno as Karshemish? Is not Hamath as Arpad? Is not Samaria as Damascus? As my hand hath found the kingdoms of the idols, and whose graven idols did excel them of Jerusalem and of Samaria. Shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols? Wherefore it shall come to pass that when Yahushua hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria, and the glory of his high looks. For he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent. And I have removed the bounds of the people, and I have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. And my hand hath found as a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathereth eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth, and there was none that moved the wing, or opened the mouth, or peeped. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? As if the rod should shake itself against them that lift it up, or as if the staff should lift up itself, as if it were no wood. Therefore shall the Lord of hosts, Yahushua, send among his fat ones leanness, and under his glory he shall kindle a burning like the burning of a fire. And the light of Israel shall be for a fire, and his Holy One for a flame, and it shall burn and devour his thorns and his berries in one day. That's where we are. And shall consume the glory of his forest and of his fruitful field, both soul and body. And they shall be as when a standard bearer fainteth. And the rest of the trees of his forest shall be few, that a child may write them. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon Yahushua, the Holy One of Israel. In truth, the remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob unto the mighty God, unto the Most High. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. For Yahushua, for the Most High, shall make a consumption even determined in the midst of all the land. Therefore thus saith the Most High, O my people that dwellest in Zion, be not afraid of the Edomites, the Assyrian, the Babylonian, the Egyptian, the Roman, the Greek, the American, the Spanish, the European, the African, the Native American. He shall smite thee with a rod, and shall lift up his staff against thee, after the manner of Egypt, after the manner of bondage. For yet a very little while, and the indignation shall cease, and mine anger in their destruction. And the Most High shall stir up a scourge among him, according to the slaughter of the Midian at the rock of Oreb. And as his rod was upon the sea, so shall he lift it up after the manner of Egypt. And it shall come to pass in that day that his burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder, and his yoke from off thy neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. He is come to Iath. He has passed to Migron. At Michmash he hath laid up his carriages. They are gone over the passage. They have taken up their lodging. At Geba, Ramah is afraid. Geba and Saul has fled. Lift up thy voice, O daughter of Galim. Cause it to be heard unto Laish, O poor Anathoth. Madmenah is removed. The inhabitants of Gebim gather themselves to flee. As yet shall he remain at Nob. That day he shall shake his hand against the mount of the daughter of Zion, the hill of Jerusalem. Behold, the Most High shall lop the bow with terror, and the high ones of stature shall be hewn down, and the haughty shall be humbled. And he shall cut down the thickets and of the forest with iron, and Lebanon, and Babylon, and Assyria, and Egypt, and the Edomites, and the Europeans, and the Africans, and the Native Americans shall fall by a mighty one. All praises. All praises. All praises. This was it's a good one. And next week, it will be even better. So we are now on the path of our redemption, as it is here. It is now. People who want to come, be ready to be hewn down, to be taken out. We are done, son. We are done listening, dealing with, entertaining all of 83's folly. All praises to the Most High. All praises. Our redemption is here. Our redemption is now, Israel. Be at peace. Shalom.
This is where projects come to life. Our showrooms are designed to inspire with the latest products from top brands, curated in an inviting, hands-on environment, and a team of industry experts to support your project. We'll be there to make sure everything goes as planned, from product selection to delivery coordination. At Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery, your project is our priority.
Discover great brands like Electrolux at your local Ferguson showroom.
If Kamala says the economy is recovered, she's either lying or delusional. Either way, she's leaving us behind. Reject Kamala. Paid for by Duty to America PAC. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. DutyToAmericaPAC.com.